Hello, Earthlings. Welcome to the Agents of Aquarius. Hope you like our new backgrounds. We have a new video editor here in the house, and that's helping us move things along. This is episode 17 of the Agents of Aquarius. Please like, subscribe, and then go back on every other video and just like it, and then maybe we can check an algorithm into more people seeing this podcast while we try to spread news about light and how we can be entering this new age of consciousness with a bit of decorum and uh while the world burns and falls apart around us. Welcome. I'm Jim. I'm here with my boy freaking Matt. Should I just erase this now? I cursed, dude, in the first minute.
Keep your curse, bro. Keep it.
No, they're
Fuck
gonna get
them.
rid of us. Oh, no, you curse. No, dude, this is not good. This we just
For
learned not to curse.
for anybody who doesn't know, don't curse in the first 60 seconds of your recording because it'll get you some kind of strike. But you know what? We curse all the time, so let's just run with it. Because I like your intro, bro.
We'll
I
get
like your
better at
intro.
this. We'll get better at this.
Yeah,
We're working on it. It's a new year, new me.
yeah, man. It's Pluto just entered the sign of Aquarius, right in time for the age of Aquarius,
Episode 17. It's a
episode
one.
17, coming to you from the bunker.
Yeah,
And
you're
I've upgraded the bunker. I've gone interdimensional. Every now and then I'll pop into your 3D world and my bunker runs around on chicken legs like Baba Yaga's hut. But most of the time I hang out in, you know, secret
wow.
places. That's my bunker. Bunker
Uh,
news, bunker update.
my grandmother used to sell bunker when I was a child.
That's a fish, isn't it?
It's a type of fish, very good for using for bait because it's very oily. Crabs love bunker.
Sometimes my bunker does smell like an oily fish, but when you're underground and interdimensional, things happen.
That's why you need a bidet, Matthew. Uh, but here we are. I mean, world's amazing. Roses are growing, stars out there. Everything, just nature's beautiful. Bread, we're getting lots of bread and circus, tons of entertainment right now. This year has kicked off in such a quick way. I wish I had it like the recap in front of me, but it was literally like Epstein's list and just like, oh no, don't look at that. Look at this. Look at this. Look at that. Oh, crazy coldness across the
Busy
United
news
States.
cycles.
Yeah, crazy busy news cycles. Very
Yeah.
busy. Ever since that old stingy, not stingy, that old persnickety Epstein's list popping out, which has been out forever, but it was finally like, okay, we're getting an official one from the court. Like the court saying this
Yeah.
was his flight log list.
Yeah, that turned out to be a list that came from the Virginia Guthrie civil suit or something like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we've had the Black Book released for a long time now. We've had those lists before, but yeah, it came in some more slightly official context, and that was cool. I mean, keep blowing the lid off that thing because why not? I mean, Ghislaine Maxwell went to jail for sex trafficking minors, but there was no one she trafficked them to. It's like
yeah.
obviously secrets are being kept, and I think a lot more people care than are letting on, but maybe I'm wrong.
Uh yeah, well, it's if we're once again, if you watch mainstream media or any type of form of media, you got to be very aware because you can be lied to.
Mm-hmm.
We've already covered that. Why can you be lied to? Well, directly, the United States could even fund the lies. Uh,
Legally now. Yeah.
yeah.
Go ahead. Refresh us real quick on the mechanism for the government lying to you with taxpayer money.
Well, that was the Modernization Act,
Yeah.
which allowed the government to then use taxpayer money to then do propaganda against the taxpayers.
Yeah. Because
And
back
I say
in,
taxpayers to like really iron home, like you're paying for this. Like this
yeah.
isn't even corporations. Like this is government. The government can fund propaganda against the people of the United States of America. It was illegal to do that because they were like, well, in 1946, 1946, they create the
Thereabout, yeah.
Smith-Mundt Act because they're like, hey, I don't know if we needed to like put this on paper, but we feel like we might need to put this on paper. Like, the government can't do propaganda against the citizens, right? Like, okay, so like we thought that was clear, but we're going to make an act now that specifies directly to the very fact that you can't do that.
Yeah, that was a law put in, like you said, 1947 or thereabout. And
Yeah.
then thanks to our great pal Barack Obama in 2012, with the National Defense Authorization Act, they included in it the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, which made it legal for your government agencies with your taxpayer dollars funding them to use propaganda against the citizens of the United States. That includes your CIA, FBI, it includes your CDC, your NIH, any government organization you want basically has umbrella protection from any kind of blowback for
Yeah.
lying to the public to manipulate public opinion, to manipulate, you know, how our society behaves.
And you would think that that would be treasonous to do those things, and it would
Sure
be
sounds like it.
until you go, we're going to make it legal. Like, well, what? Like, that's literally, it's
Mm-hmm.
the same point in time when they're like, you know what? Corporations are people. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah,
whoa,
another
whoa,
crock of
what?
shit.
Whoa, you just took a fictional entity and just turned it into something like a
Gave
living
it
being.
human rights, give it people
Yeah.
rights.
Yeah. It's a living being now. But it was a fictional entity. It's a
Yeah, and the
fake.
first one was the casino in like 1970, 71, something like that. A casino got human rights personhood. It was awarded personhood because that fictional make-believe entity, uh, people put money into it. So therefore it deserves personhood rights. Again, total utter crock of shit that never should have happened because that's not the real world. It's a made up entity.
Ah, ah.
But hey, you know what? That thing I said earlier, I like astrology. I tune into my little astrology tidbits here and there. And our current astrology at the moment, this being the 22nd of January, on January 20th, Pluto went into Aquarius. And that's a combination for change. And the last time that Pluto was in the house of Aquarius was 1777 to 1797. And that was the birth of a country with a constitution and a bill of rights. Constitution might be a little fucked up and could use some overhauls probably, but the bill of rights is a really good one. And anyone who wants to trash the constitution, it's worth telling them, it's like you could trash it all you want, but you should probably not mess with the first 10 bits of that constitution, because that's where your bill of rights is. That happened 200 years ago or whatever, 220 some years ago, and now that same astrological alignment is coming around again. Who knows what is in store for the people of this country or this world?
Yeah. Here we are. Like I said, this is being recorded on the 22nd of January, and uh like within this 22 days, it's just been absolute pandemonium here in the United States of America, and also abroad. I mean, very much abroad, with what's going on between Palestine and Israel, what's happening between Yemen, and then is that the Red Sea?
Yeah, the Red
Or
Sea, they're
we
doing a
got
good job of closing it down with some without a very big budget. That's one of the poorest countries in the world, and it's been bombarded by a U.S. funded Saudi Arabia led war for 9 years now. That country has been getting pounded. I mean, that particular war has lightened up a little bit, but those people don't have a lot of resources. But they shut that shit down. They shut down the Red Sea, which means they didn't shut it down, but they're severely affecting trade and traffic through the what's the canal? The
um not Suez Canal.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
Suez
Suez
Canal.
Canal.
That's
Okay,
exactly it.
Suez.
Yeah,
Yeah, near Egypt.
yeah.
Um, yeah, just the point being, not so we don't get mired into any little part, like with Ukraine, still
Mhm.
sending them money. What's happening in Israel and Palestine? Boom, everybody has heard something.
Mhm.
Uh, You have Yemen, you got Iran. There's missiles being fired between countries right now.
Hmm.
There's been our boats have been attacked,
Yeah.
meaning U.S. Navy ships have been attacked. U.S. cargo ships have, I believe, even been hit. Um, two Navy SEALs just disappeared last week off of in some type of raid or
Yeah.
something was
South
happening
Africa
in South Africa.
did their thing where they went to the, I guess, what, the International Criminal Court or something like that,
Yeah,
and they filed charges of genocide against Israel. Now I think Indonesia is doing something very similar.
that we have Chabad Lubavitch Jews climbing out of fucking tunnels on the
Bad
sidewalks.
optics there, dude. Bad optics.
Like Jews in tunnels. Didn't see that on my bingo card for
No.
2024, but it's on the bingo card. It's already happened. We have Jews in tunnels with the hats, the Chabad Lubavitch. We're digging and just taking real estate underground. And I won't even get into why. We won't even make it
No, but
salacious, but it was
we'll
like,
throw this in the mix just for fun. The story from whoever owns that organization, it changes every 5 minutes. Like they keep changing the story. It's, oh, the tunnel's for this, the tunnel's for that. It's like, can you just give me one straight answer? But the
no.
fact that they can't makes me think you're full of shit.
Oop.
Something's going on there that they're not admitting to.
Oh, the Mitchfield dude, listening to Yiddish. The best part of this whole the funniest part of the whole the tunnel Jews is the gentleman who lived across the street from this Chabad or from a children's center or whatever. I think they're all in the area. And he kept complaining to his superintendent or what, who's the guy that like
The
in charge
building
of
super.
the building super, and writing it and calling the police and everything, saying there's Jews under my house. I hear Jews talking under my house. Could you imagine the level this guy's like listening to walls with? He has like a cup on a wall, and he's probably got a stethoscope out. And he's like,
Holy shit.
"Is it okay? So it's a vent. So it's a vent, and they're talking, and their voices are going through a vent, and the vent must be going under my floorboards, but I'm on the first floor, and there's nothing below me." Except Jews and tunnels. And dude, he must have been so vindicated that day. But like, I'm not going crazy. I'm. It must have
I
been all.
told you.
Yeah,
I
like all
told you
night.
so.
It's like okay. Could you imagine? You call the cops and you're like, all right, I have a noise complaint. There's people playing extremely loud music in my neighborhood, and the cops show up and they're like, we don't really hear it. Like we're not hearing it right now, and yeah, I don't hear. I don't, and you're just like, but I hear they're playing. It's 3 a.m. I want to go to sleep. Jews and tunnels.
He's always been complaining. And you're right. He is so vindicated because there it is.
Oh, this guy's cried Jew so many times in his life, bro. And people were like, dude, it's enough. We think you might be anti-Semitic. This is like the voice, you have voices in your head and you can't handle it. You hate it. And then it's like, no, dude, they lived under my house.
Oh my God.
They
Coming
were
out of the sewer
digging.
grates. That
Oh
was
my God.
like that whole, yeah.
Bro, that Jew coming out of that sewer grate that's been played a million times on a video by now is hilarious. The way that they have the grate cut, they kind of round it so they can get the hat out. It's like they
You
can't.
got to be able to get the hat out.
They don't even take the hat off. I would be like, all right, I'm going to take the hat off, climb through the gate, put the hat
Yeah.
back on. They're like, no,
No.
no, no. We will cut the gate for the hat. All right.
So yeah, there's a lot going on, bro. It's the age of Aquarius coming on. Got to knock the dust off the pyramids. Got to bring some real change and see what happens. See what happens because
It's
a lot's
happened.
happened already.
It's a lot's happened already. I mean, we've watched states tell a guy he can't run for president in their state. We've seen what else?
And
Anything
not
good?
just a guy. I mean, we know who it is.
Yeah.
It's a former president. It's Trump. It's like it's kind of a big deal whether you love him, hate him, or don't care. To tell a former presidential candidate they can't run for office because they are alleged to have committed conspiracy to commit voter whatever the fucking charges were. They weren't even like the guy hasn't been charged, let alone convicted, and the state of Colorado tried to take him off the ballot.
Well, they
It's
got
like
that got changed,
it
but
did get
now
overturned.
it's
Yeah.
still not in Maine. And there's another one. There's two others, I believe, where they have it hasn't been changed yet. But yeah, yeah. So we have that. So we have this basically the silencing of speech, and then right here we also see within the last week at Davos, I believe, with the
Hmm.
World Economic Forum and all the, the goody good two shoe companies, and I'm sorry, organizations that will lead us into the world, and you will like it. Davos tells us the biggest threat coming in the next 2 years is it is not just war, it's people's misinformation.
Yeah, not wars, not pandemics,
Words.
not the climate crisis. It's people's
Words.
words. Yeah. There's something like 500,000 dead people in Ukraine, and that's not enough
What
to Trump. Ooh, to Trump. That's
dude,
not enough to
guys,
top
hold on. There was a comma in
disinformation.
there. That wasn't two different sentences. He didn't say there's a 500,000 dead Ukrainians there, and that's not enough. Meaning there should be more. He did not
I
mean
mean,
that.
what does it take for a death by war to be more important than disinformation? Like how,
All
you
I
can
know
tell these.
is you're not saying it needs to be more. That's all I'm trying to get out
I'm
right
not
now.
saying it needs to be more dead people. Absolutely not. I'm all about the anti-war stance because I'm an old school lefty, baby, not this new pro-war, pro-censorship liberal bullshit. I'm an actual lefty from long ago. But yeah, man, run with that. The World Economic Forum said the biggest threat in 2024 to the world
Is
is
misinformation,
disinformation.
and malinformation. Mal meaning bad,
That's the
but it's
best.
like, oh, what?
Malinformation is my favorite.
That's the best because they're like, oh, because mal is like, I think that's a root word for bad. Like
Yeah, yeah.
mal in like Spanish, mal is bad.
It's just
Um,
bad information.
so it's like bad information, and the craziest part is it's bad because it's true.
That's the heart of malinformation. It's true information that is inconvenient to the people who are ruling shit.
Misinformation's like you might be skewing the information.
Yeah.
You might be
You have a
like
slant
a
to your
slant,
reporting.
maybe. Yeah, it's just like it could be. And then there's disinformation, which is also a lot like
I
misinformation,
think that's just like a lie or something.
but that's when you just go the opposite and you just spread the lie, just
You
like
just spread the
bah,
lie. Yeah.
disinformation. They're like, no, actually, coffee doesn't, because it would be like every week. Coffee can give you cancer or whatever. And it's like,
Mhm.
coffee is good for fighting cancer. It's like, what? How do you have two? Like, which is it? And then there's
But
malinformation, which is
yeah,
literally information that, yes, may be true, but is bad for the narrative.
it's
That's
bad
its
for the
description.
narrative. Yeah. And
And
look
we're
at these, like, look at this group that's actually coming out here publicly saying the biggest threat to humans in 2024 is disinformation. Like, this is a collection of billionaires, industrialists, politicians, corporate interests. They're all tied together by think tanks and NGOs and bullshit like that. And this like, you know, machine of control is coming out and saying disinformation is the biggest threat. I mean, you look at the who the message is coming from, and it makes sense, bro. It makes a lot of sense. It's like to them, like to regular people, disinformation is not your biggest problem. Your biggest problem is a 2,000-pound bomb getting dropped on your apartment building or something like that. But to these people, it's disinformation. Ooh,
Isn't that wild?
these people, I said it. Those people.
It's wild. It's just absolutely bonkers, dude. It's crazy, crazy town.
Well, we also talked about a really interesting little fact of people publicly standing up and snubbing that World Economic Forum at their own event. Do you recall the name of that conservative think tank guy? Speaking of think tanks,
I don't.
all right. So just for conversational purposes, for some reason, the president of the Heritage Foundation, a very influential Washington D.C. think tank,
Do
very
I know his name?
conservative. Yeah, what's his name? Who's the
Dr.
president? Current one,
Dr. Robert Kelly. Hold on.
Dr. Robert Kelly. Is that who it is?
It's not. It's
All right, he's gonna
keep
look it
going.
up.
You keep going and I'll look it up.
Yeah, so for whatever reason, this guy who represents the billionaire class anyway to begin with, and the ruling class and all those political elites and those intelligence elites, the Heritage Foundation is really behind the scenes in setting policy for the US government. So these aren't for the people kind of people. But for whatever reason, this guy stood up in front of the World Economic Forum. He says, "Hey, look, with all due respect, you people are the problem." He's like, "You guys with your, your billionaire class that's in that's penetrating the cabinets all over the world and putting their world economic people into positions of power in politics, he said, "You're the problem."
Dr. Kevin Roberts.
Dr. Kevin Roberts. Now, why
So
a
yeah,
think tank that represents that ruling class would come out and push back against this particular ruling class entity? I don't know, but at the very least, it's a sign of division among the ruling class, and I think I like it.
there's different ruling classes is what we're seeing, because these guys have forever kind of been aligned to this thing, but I think it's because everybody was getting rich.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're about to be on the butt end of the joke.
Mm,
While they've pushed this country into despair and created a two-tiered justice system, and they've created, like, so the corporations are people and all these things where, like,
disparity of wealth.
yeah, disparity of wealth, like, they've just gotten richer and it was all good for them. But I think they're about to see that there's going, like, they're still Americans and they still might like this country, and now realize, oh, they sold their souls and also sold the country out. And that's why maybe people like him are standing up for that right now. And we saw that also from, I'm going to let you, I'll say this one and then you could say the third one. Jamie Dimon this week said something right along the same lines as Dr. Kevin Roberts from the Heritage Foundation, where he spoke about, like, hey, this isn't good. Like, this, what's happening right now is not, he doesn't say good for America. He backs Trump. He says, I will back Trump. But I think they're seeing, like, they're on the butt end of the joke. Like, yeah, they got their money invested all over the world, but
Mm-hmm.
they're about to see the destruction of their country.
Yeah, yeah, and like guys like Jamie Dimon and the Heritage Foundation guy, their policies have been slowly leading towards turning this country into a third world country by the massive disparity of wealth. And I think, like you said, they might be getting wise to the fact that if you turn your own neighborhood into a shithole, oh God, I used another one of those Trump phrases again. I gotta stop this. If you turn your backyard into a third world environment, then you still live there.
Mm-hmm.
You still live there.
Well, remember, I believe it was Kevin Roberts that says that, like, this climate change is just a fallacy. This is just not real science. This is not really actually happening. Like they're
Yeah,
saying, this is not. This is, and so he attacked climate change, which is one of their biggest. That's their big thing right now.
absolutely. Yeah, that's
Um,
how they want to keep driving their social changes that give them more and more power by pushing the climate agenda.
mhm. And but then you also look, and with that, with what he was saying, and I believe also with Jamie Dimon, that's about, like, hey, this DEI, the diversity, equity, and inclusion. This isn't.
Hmm.
This is like. This is nice. This is like, this is a participation trophy for everyone. That's like, really, this is nice, but this isn't how you make fucking, like,
Make the money.
make them. But even, like, make great people, make great people, like, that are great at what they do, I should say. Okay, and when
Yeah.
I'm saying great, meaning they're really good at what they do. um and you don't like make like sports better by just including everyone. Like, no, you want to
Right,
watch the
right.
best. You don't want to watch the ball drop because he doesn't know how to catch a ball. Like,
Yeah, sports is the ultimate merit-based system.
yeah, like, we want to see the best. You want to see, like, it, because you want it, because it turns into poetry in motion is what happens when it's beautiful. That's
Hmm.
what's cool
Yeah.
about sports, is it becomes this, like, whoa, like, that's in the physical world. We just watched, like, amazingness.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
watched Taylor Swift's boyfriend's team play a good game of football yesterday.
okay, there you go. I watched
Hmm.
Jason Kelsey take all the accolades for taking his shirt off, and they talked less about Taylor Swift, and it became the Jason Kelsey show, bro.
Yo,
What's
did you
up,
see how small the beer can looked in his hand?
bro?
That
That's my
guy's big.
man, dude.
That guy's
Jason,
big.
he's a big boy. He's not actually huge. He's like, he's just everything's big on him. He's the guy during when the Super Bowl parade when the Eagles won.
Uh-huh.
He was the one that dressed up like a mummer. He had like a full mummer's outfit on.
No way.
It's legendary. You just put Jason Kelsey mummers, you type it in Google, and you'll have
Well,
all the
was
pictures of him in
was
this
he a
green.
Philadelphia Eagle?
Oh, he's an Eagles still.
Oh, okay.
He's
Okay.
not retired. The speculation is he's retired now
Yeah.
this season, but he's like, I haven't made it official. He's like, my deal. I do this every year. I go home and I spend about a month thinking about everything, and then I say what's up. He's no, he's not retired, but he's been an Eagle for 13 years. Hall of
Oh
Fame
wow.
center. He's our center, Hall of
Okay.
Fame center. Jason Kelsey's
Okay.
a legend in Philly.
Yeah. And like I said, man,
Yeah, I'm
when I
sorry.
looked at the beer can in his hand, I was like, Jesus, that looks like an 8 ounce can of beer.
So yeah, bread and circus is working because now we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Uh, and then there was a third gentleman, a man of power,
Yeah.
that
So
spoke directly at
yeah.
the forum, and
Yeah,
his
so
name.
that's Javier Milei. He's the Argentina president or premier, whatever they have in that country. I guess he's the president.
Mhm.
And I'll be honest with you, Agent Pine, I don't remember exactly what he said to the World Economic Forum people, but he had a platform and he threw him under the bus. He basically said, "You suck." And do you know anything more about what he was saying?
It was it's right along that. It was just like you're trying to create a world where like this global governance, this the elite power, like he was just speaking to the corruption of it all.
Hmm.
Like he just called it out to them in their face, kind of like when he's a comedian, he did like the Emmys or the whatever, and
Ricky
he
Gervais.
Ricky Gervais, yeah,
Yeah.
when he's like, oh yeah, Jeffrey Epstein or whatever, just like Jeffrey Epstein that did not kill itself. And then he's like, oh, what? He's your friend. He's your friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's like calling people up by name, dude. Rowan Farrow. But yeah, this guy called them out. He called them out to their faces.
Yeah.
And like, this is no more. This is no more. And this is what I brought up to you when we talked the other day. It was just like, whoa, are we watching the change? Because these, like Jamie Dimon and Kevin Roberts,
Hmm.
um, like the Heritage Foundation's like one of the biggest like lobbying. They're lobbyists, they're think tanks, they're like
They're one
through
of
it
the
all
most influential think tanks in the country.
in the
They
country.
draft basically a game plan for every department of the US government with each administration. They give them a whole big fucking stack of books saying, here's a recommendation for the Department of Interior. Here's a recommendation for the Department of, Education. And
Think
they,
about it though. What
yeah,
kind of think tank are they? Where are they aligned?
they're technically a conservative think tank, but
Boom.
very much so, very historically so.
So it looks like that what we're seeing right now, the optics show that like liberals have lost their mind. Liberals meaning like these liberal left democratic socialistic.
The right of center people with really left social views.
I, but but okay, think about it. The liberals are they're so out of balance that it's like they don't even know what balance is. They're just like, yeah, disrupt everything. Change this. There's no genders. There's no that. There's no everything, like kill babies. They're just like lean on everything hard that direction.
Yeah, yeah.
Conservatives, you just get, it's like, not to say there's nothing wrong with conservatives or anything like that, but there's balance. They generally have balance, or some level of balance to where you can at least maybe critically think and go, whoa, fuck, things are fucked up right now.
Well, remember, the conservative crowd always wanted to control everyone
And I'm not,
always wanted to
yeah,
control everyone, like shove their way of doing things down everyone's throat. That was their MO. They also were there to support, all the power going to the corporations. But in the last 10 years, it's just kind of things have changed. The conservatives have been the ones they were the ones who used to censor. Now they're the ones getting censored. And it opened their eyes to some shit. It opened their eyes. And now that the left is the ones doing the censorship, they've gone fucking power crazy weirdo.
yeah. So fuck them for doing it at some point in time,
Yeah.
like doing censorship. But now they realize the error of their ways. And I'd rather have that than somebody would just dig their heels in and be like, we
No,
weren't
agree.
wrong.
I don't want to see the
So,
conservative right come back and start censoring the left. Fuck that. That stuff's got to end.
well, yeah, like I think you said, I think we found these right of center people that are just like they have these conservative values or their conservative approach to life, we'll just say.
Mm-hmm.
And that they're like, whoa, this has gotten to be too much. Freedom of speech is really important. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's really nice to see this switching of things. The problem is what used to be the good guys have now switched to the bad guys.
Yeah, the
And
liberals are
what used to be
pro-war
the
now.
bad guys are like, I'm not going to say they're the good guys, but just for like the example of this, like now that's like, whoa, they make more sense. It's like, damn, you guys were not, you were the ones that didn't make sense, but now
Yeah.
you're starting to make more sense.
Why the fuck is it a conservative that comes out as anti-war? They're typically the party of war, and what used to be the left was always supposed to be the anti-war party, but it's flipped. And
Mm.
now again, it's like I understand. I could relate well to people who are on that conservative right side, even though that's not me, because they're anti-war and pro-free speech.
Well, we've become aligned on certain things, is what it really comes down to. And I'm more libertarian. I'm more just kind of,
Mhm.
I'm not anarchy, but I'm in the, like, let's have hardly any government. That's the one thing I like that Vivek would say. Just I like that idea. Don't We won't take it more than that, but just like, no, eliminate all these. 85% of the federal government, just get rid of it.
Yeah, no,
Get
I will
rid of
throw a
it.
caveat in there. I definitely believe in social programs because our economy is structured in such a way to fuck over ordinary people, whether they're poor or middle class. And when decades have gone by where you've been repressing people economically, I say don't take away the social safety nets. That needs to be in place until you actually do have a functioning economy that can lift people out of poverty. But the rest of
Yeah.
the government, I get rid of it, man. Get rid of that bloated military budget immediately. Get rid of your bullshit fucking space budget because no one's doing anything worth the damn up there. There's
Intelligence agencies, the
oh god,
FBI,
yeah,
Department
just
of
cut
Defense,
them.
Justice, and then take all of the military and just surround our country, like, with our military, like
All right,
protect our
that
borders, but protect our borders. Like, we don't need to be paying to be all over the world. This is Rome, and we're watching it burn. We're
yeah.
watching the destruction of an empire that tried to grow and be so big, but this was all designed to be this way because they used our military to go out into the world to do what they've done, so they could then, these other groups could then be doing other things along the side of us, to where we can now, like, okay, we'll destroy them, and now we can just do this one world government. We can hook up this nice global system.
Yeah, and this is not a Star Trek one world government, people. Let's be clear on that. Right now, the world as it is, I don't think it's ready for a one world government because the only people who are poised to implement it are it's this like corrupt parasitic ruling class that wants to impoverish everyone. You'll own nothing and be happy. You'll eat the bugs and all that bullshit. But the people who are set to implement one world government are just the worst. They're the worst people to rule a planet like ours. They have nothing but their own self-interest in mind. And honestly, when I listen to the way these people speak, sometimes it sounds like they don't want so many people on this planet. It's always like, oh, there's too many people, the climate crisis. Bill Gates saying if we vaccinate enough people, we could reduce the population by 15%. It's like, what does that even mean? Did you think about that before you said it? But anyway, my point is, we're not ready for a one world government because there's no system in place to do it well or humanely or with the human population in mind. And this idea of open borders is messed up too, because one, a country like the United States just isn't ready for open borders. And two, those people are being used like they're always used by people in positions of power. They're going to be used for cheap labor in horrible working conditions. They're going to be used as a new voting bloc. There's any number of reasons why the people coming into this country are being used and abused. And it's not for the benefit of those people. The people who are making the decisions to have our borders open, they're doing it for their benefit and they don't have good intentions behind it.
Yeah. Um, so those guys were watching kind of flip the script of the way they used to go about things, and they allowed for the climate change and the DEI and the
ESG.
ESG. Yes. And I don't know what's happening. I don't know if they're just being fake players for the second. I have no idea what we're watching. It's all just happened this week, or in the last
Yeah.
10 days, those three gentlemen all of like, whoa, that they kill people that say that. Like, they unalive people that like to say shit
It
along
has
those
happened
lines.
before.
Um, and it's kind of mind blowing to watch this kind of go down, though. That's the part, I guess. And is this what this are these guys starting to become agents of Aquarius? Are these guys starting to switch and go, whoa, this isn't good. This is bad. Like, oh, like, is it really? Did it take now? And is it some come to Jesus moment, as we said?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
I'm not sure, but we're watching something very weird right now. I can tell you that for a fact.
yeah, and I gotta say, never underestimate the redemption arc of the human potential, because that's a huge chapter in the story of human development, is when you stop doing evil and you just come to terms with yourself and you start to do something good.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, yeah. We've created a justice system that's completely um counter that, and while says the other, but that's just where we're at, dude. We're in this crazy stage, watching this unfold. It all seems too big to be real. The like movies climaxing. It's like, geez, really? This is like it is. It's a lot. It's a lot to
Well,
take on.
this year is supposed to be a pretty big um, year for events, mostly because of two things: the US presidential election and the fact that our economy is always has been for years balancing, doing a balancing act to keep from collapsing. And just so happens that right now, currently here in January 2024, the US stock markets are all peaking and all the hedge funds are betting huge shorts against it, as if they're predicting a crash in the stock market if they're shorting it. So between that potential economic collapse and the presidential election in this country, you can be sure there's going to be all kinds of shit going on this year. All kinds.
Well, they yeah, I mean, they have us on the verge, and just I've never felt it quite like I do right now, where other people have talked about like, when North Korea did this or somebody did that. I'm like, oh, we're going to war with Russia. Like, we're going to war. I don't think we're going to war with like. I think it's China seems to. It's just like they did what they can do is set off like a series of events, I guess, like in chess, where you could set the board up and then you sacrifice something, and then they take that, and then you take their piece, then you take their pawn, and then they don't realize, but that, and, oh, well, I'm going to take this, and now you're they're set up already, and now you just start watching the pawns and the knights and the bishops fall as you get checkmate. And that's the way it seems to be designed right now. The way that they have the military ships in the Red Sea, the conflict is like it's calmed down a hair, I guess, right now because they're not allowed to kill as many Palestinians. Once January 1st happened, they didn't have open hunting season. I guess something switched then, so that conflict's kind of, but it's still boiling and crazy. Then they have us, then you have Iran, and then you have China, and then you have Taiwan, then you have Ukraine, and you have Russia.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's all of these pieces to this chessboard, just like all set to like. It seems like they've set these up as the move to go for a checkmate.
Or just to see everything blow up. I don't know. I mean,
That might be
do
the
you see
checkmate,
one?
but
Do
that
you
can be
see
the
one?
checkmate. But they
Oh,
don't
now
want to. Yeah,
who's they in this position, and what does a checkmate look like?
globalist.
The
The
globalists,
people,
yes,
yeah, the
okay.
people that have infiltrated all kinds of different governments and all kinds of different power centers.
They have
Um,
penetrated the cabinets.
what's that?
As Klaus Schwab says, we
Uh,
have penetrated the cabinets.
yes, yeah. There you go. Klaus Schwab and his like this. He's from Nazi lineage. Like
Oh
he's
yeah, his dad was a
from
big fucking Nazi
yeah.
manufacturer.
So I think what we're watching the moves that, there's all these different moves in chess. I think we're watching, these are all the moves that are being put in place. And then in our country, that like apparently there's a lot of people have entered our country more so in this last year than ever before. And it's not women and children. It sounds like this is what it's. I'm not trying to fearmonger in any way, but this is seems to be true news happening.
Now I
So
don't get that part because I watch the video of people crossing the border, and we are joking about this earlier. When you drive to the San Ysidro border crossing in San Diego County, when you're driving south to the border, there are signs along the freeway that show a man, a woman, and two kids like a yellow street sign, like a warning sign. A man, a woman, and two kids all holding hands, and they're crossing the interstate. And the signs say warning. So you don't run over a family who's trying to get into this country to better their lives. But every time I see these videos of immigrants now, not only are they from all over the world, Africa, China, India, all over the place, as well as this, Central and South America, but it's all dudes, and it's all like young dudes. I don't understand why it's just thousands of young dudes who are coming into this country. Where are the kids? Where are the women? Why are you not bringing your family here to better their lives too? What
There
gives?
there are some amounts of women and there are some amounts of children, first of all, that are coming. Unfortunately, it's sounding a lot of that sex trafficking, it's human trafficking, then it'll turn into sex trafficking later,
Yeah.
or it's already that and that. But
Or they're just illegally being slaved out in meat
so
packing plants.
the difference is that it used to be, and you brought up that sign. Those signs aren't around anymore, but those signs did used to be at the border. And if you even just random news that would report on migrant crossing, um this immigration happening in the past, it was a lot of, you'd see man, woman, child, you'd
Hmm.
see a lot of that. Not to say that wasn't also human trafficking, don't know, but you'd seen this. There was a, and here's the other part of it. Here's the other actually huge part. They were Mexicans or they were Guatemalans.
Yeah.
They were Central American people. That's it. Right now, what we're watching is people from Africa, China, Asia,
Middle East.
Middle East, like happening. And it's like,
Hmm.
whoa, whoa. Like, how pissed off must Mexico be? Like, people are just coming into their country. They're leaving, thankfully, but I'm sure they're not being well behaved. I'm That's okay. So that's that piece. So we got that piece. You got the Taiwan, China. You got Ukraine, Russia. You got Palestine or Gaza, Palestinians and Israelis. You've got Iran. You've got Iraq. These are all chess pieces set right now,
Hmm.
and not everybody wants in on that. They didn't realize they were going to do that. They didn't know the plan was going to be that to do this. You know what I mean? Like, only certain peoples get to the certain parties. Only certain peoples get to the certain meetings or get to certain packets of information. And that's what it seems like we're poised at right now. And maybe that's why we're seeing a couple people step out where you'd be like the leader from Argentina. Like, you're supposed to be going along with this. And I think people are like, I got grandkids. This is bullshit. This is like,
Yeah.
this isn't the world I see or I want to see. And we literally know from history, governance should always happen. Any type of governing, which just means mind control, but any of that governing should always be done in very local situations because local knows how to handle local better.
Yeah.
And then it
Yeah.
doesn't
It's well
become
put.
bloated and then not be good for everything. It's like nothing can work because it's too big. You want everything very small in government and you want it very local.
Nice. Can I add something to this bit about people switching sides, apparently? If you have heard of a guy, I guess he's a whistleblower. His name is David Webb. He's got a book called The Great Taking. He's a financial guy. Great Taking, available on Amazon, 17.95 in paperback. Um, no, David Webb's The Great Taking is available for free online if you want to look at it. But in a nutshell, what he's saying is with the next financial collapse, it's expected to be so big because national debts are so outrageously high, and the debt being carried around the world is so ridiculous that when the next financial collapse comes, it's going to come a lot heavier than it has in 2008. And as an insider financial guy, he is laying out step by step how financial assets like stocks and bonds and mortgages and things like that are all on the table to be seized by certain banks with security interests. It's not all banks, it's only like the biggest ones. And basically, what he's saying is you might think you're rich with your stock portfolio and you're not working, you're retired, and you're just getting your dividends. All that shit's going to get seized by these banks when they come to collect what's owed to them when the collapse happens. And everybody's going to go broke, not just the people in the middle class and the poor people who will stay poor, but the people in those upper echelons of the economy. And I think that's and what he's saying is like, look, the people who have been implementing this have been doing it for decades. It's all laid out in the financial regulations and rules. But he's saying the people who are behind this need to wake up and realize what they've set up. And if this is implemented, what it will mean for the society that they live in. This is going back to that thing again. Don't shit in your own yard.
Mm-hmm.
But David Webb lays it all out there that the system is set in such a way that everybody loses except for a very small sliver of that ruling class. And that's that business of why we think we're seeing people stand up to organizations like the World Economic Forum.
I think that's what we're watching right now. We're in the midst of watching this. That's the puzzle pieces are set, or the chess pieces are set because they want to try to pull a move to do what they would think is a checkmate for their, like, boom, made it happen. And not everybody wants to go along.
Yeah, change.
But taking everybody's pensions and shit, dude, there's gonna be some mad people if that's what they did.
Well,
Dude. If they just take everybody's money, bro, people are gonna be so mad.
I kind of remember in 2008, someone near and dear to you and your family said he lost a good chunk of his pension. And once he built it back up to where it was, years later, he kind of got out of the whole
Oh yeah.
investor pension in the stock market
Oh
because
yeah.
he got burned. And that was 2008. That was small fries compared to what's coming because instead of having just a housing bubble, we got bubbles in everything: housing, commodities, everything. Everything is a bubble nowadays.
I almost went and grabbed like 1,500 in silver because you got to do 1,500 here in this state, or you got to pay taxes
Oh,
on it.
okay.
So you can just
I
do it. Like, you can take 1,500 and get 1,500 in silver instead of paying taxes on top of it.
Wait a minute. You could take what money and buy
You
what
you
taxes
could
are you avoiding? You could buy silver without paying tax on it?
you can buy silver without paying tax on it if you buy at least $1,500
Oh, I
worth.
see. If you buy enough, you don't pay sales tax.
Yeah, it's like you become like a broker instead. Not a broker, but
Interesting.
I'm not. It's not. It's just the way it is. That's the way the rules are.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
So you got to pay like 8%, which then that's like, like
Yeah,
$120 you're losing on
your resale
1,500.
value's gone down.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you just lost 120 of your 1,500 right off the top in taxes.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've thought of that recently. Like, let me go buy a little bit more. It's so hard to buy gold in small amounts. That's the thing.
Yeah, right. You get dust.
In usable amounts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
hey,
so
back
hard.
back to your point though. When people lose their pensions, they're going to lose their fucking shit, as they should. And I think
Mhm.
about, your 401k is not safe. It is a seizable asset by banks with security interest. That special little phrase that David Webb got us hip to. Um, um, but you know what? Hey, here we are with this Pluto and Aquarius that's supposed to herald change in things like technology and yeah, economy. Maybe I don't know for sure, but curiously, that astronomical setup there, the planet Pluto being in the house of Aquarius, it only is there until September 1st. And then it goes back into Capricorn. Remember, Pluto went into Capricorn in 2008. We know what happened there. We had this giant financial crash.
Mhm.
But Pluto goes back into Capricorn September 1st, and it stays there until something like November 22nd or 27th, which conveniently it's back in the house of Capricorn, which is not good for the average person during the presidential election.
Mhm.
That little snippet of astrology I find pretty interesting. But then come November of 2024, it goes back into the house of Aquarius and stays there until something like 2044. So there's a good 20 years where this astrological alignment can elicit positive change for the people who live on this planet. That's an interesting fact to think about because we always talk about the age of Aquarius.
So we're in that. It started on Saturday, right? And
Yeah,
then
we're in it now.
We're in that until you're saying September
First,
1st, and then it moves into
it
Pluto.
goes backwards back into Capricorn. This is the
Capricorn. Okay.
is the planet Pluto, which moves
Yeah.
really slowly. Like Mercury sails through all these different houses because it's close to the sun and perspective and whatnot. Pluto's so far out there, it stays in these astrological houses for a long time. It was in Capricorn since 2008, and everything since 2008 has arguably not been great for the people of the world and this country.
Hmm.
So, but this alignment is supposed to herald a different kind of change, a more positive change. Secrets revealed, technological change, that kind of thing.
This is wild.
It is wild.
We are in the midst of it, my friend.
Age of
We're
Aquarius, brother.
we're in the damn midst of it. Um, we we've been at this. Time, should we did you see this isn't like a breaking news. Did you see that article about like they found like maybe the largest pyramid structure in the world in like the Americas? They just found
In
it.
the American? No, no, I have no idea.
I'm trying to find it online. I saw like a couple articles about it like last week. Now I can't see anything. I'm looking it up. I can't find.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that could mean, actually, I hate to say this, but that could mean it didn't happen, because I
Yeah.
remember when the Houthis in Yemen hit a US ship with a missile. There's a lot of footage going around of a Sri Lankan freighter from like 5 years ago that was on fire. And people were saying, "Oh yeah, I had the footage of that American ship on fire, but now I can't get it." You couldn't get it because it wasn't an American ship on fire. It was old footage. Now it could be that there isn't a pyramid in the Americas, but it almost doesn't matter, because in Indonesia is a site called Gunung Padang,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a pyramid shaped hill that's covered in vegetation and it got a jungle on it and has some like 2,000-year-old stone structures on it. But when people start to excavate Gunung Padang, um, they started to come back with evidence that this actually is a man-made pyramid and not a hill, and that it was estimated to be upwards of 20,000 years old. But right after the academics all started howling and whining that it's fake, before they could really dig into it enough and excavate enough and find out if it's real, the Indonesian government shut down any digging.
Hmm.
And it happened, it was just a dumb bunch of internal politics. But the fact that there actually could be a pyramid 20,000 years old, huge, is lying unexcavated because one of the world ruling governments has opted to not allow people to dig there. Now, it might just be because Indonesia is a nation of 750 Muslims, and evidence that a world history that doesn't jive with the Quran doesn't jive with that government, because their people might not like it, or it
Or
could be something else.
they just maybe they don't want their like maybe it's burial burial areas and stuff like that. And we just look at it as like, oh man, but like maybe that's their burial areas too, and they don't want to just disturb.
Maybe that's generous. I'll give you.
No, it is
I'll
generous,
tell
but
you.
it's also not crazy. I mean, we do, they might be like, no, we don't touch that. We know the story, but nobody wants to be told what they say. Like the people, I don't know. I'm just,
That could be. That could
yeah.
be, because the truth is you and I don't know why they're not excavating that site. So, do you know anything else about this potentially largest pyramid in?
I'm looking, bro. No, no. I was like,
So you
I'm
can't
just
find it.
bringing it up because I was hoping you'd be like, had seen it too. But now I can't find anything, dude. I'm looking on Instagram. I'm looking on Google News. I'm looking, um,
I'm gonna look on. Let's go Graham Hancock, and we'll look at his website.
this is all like so bad for a podcast.
What? Looking up
Just,
shit while we're talking?
yeah, dude.
Bunch
Yeah,
of
it's like literally
sloppy
not. It's
bastards.
just gone. What was the break the news? Didn't we had you had something else?
We are going to break the news, and we've
Oh
even
yeah.
touched on it a little already, but I'm going to lead us into it, my friend.
How are we gonna break this? I think we already broke it, but okay.
What's the musical soundtrack for our break the news?
I think that's it.
Break the news.
Oh, break the news.
All right, this is direct from our beloved New York Times. Um, the Supreme Court sided with the Biden administration on Monday in a dispute over a concertina wire barrier erected by Texas along the Mexico border. The justices temporarily lifted an appeals court ruling that had generally prohibited federal officials from removing the wire. So, in a nutshell, Texas put up razor wire at the border, and an appeals court said that the feds can't mess with it. And then the Supreme Court overturned the ruling of the appeals court and says that the feds can remove the border fence that the state of Texas put into place. Now, that's a really interesting ruling for a lot of reasons, mostly because you got a conservative court that has ruled against state rights and ruled in favor of the Biden Democratic administration. Now, people often say one of the worst things the Trump administration did was plant a bunch of conservative justices on the Supreme Court. And if you're not a conservative, that's pretty bad. If you are a conservative, pretty good. So it's not to say it's right or wrong, that's a value judgment. But this case, you have this conservative court that sided with the Biden administration to tell the state that they can't protect the border. What do you think, buddy?
Allegedly, I'm remembering, and I don't know. This is going to be real. I'm whatever. It's what we do. I think his name might be on the list. John
On the
Roberts.
Epstein list? John Roberts.
I think he's on it, and then it was like, oh, it wasn't him or something. So maybe it wasn't him. I'm just saying. There's definitely that name's on the list.
Well, that would make a lot of sense because
So
Amy Coney Barrett and Chief Justice John Roberts were the two conservatives that swung the court's decision to rule with the Biden administration.
yes, and which is just bonkers. So here's the break the news on it. Here's the part I see. Because we are in this time, because things are shifting, because the dark is being shown, or the dark is being dissipated. We're seeing what was in the dark. That's why this goes down the way it does right now. Be like, this is so bad, Jim. And I'd be like, no, this is good.
Tell me why.
It's bad for our defense of our nation, but we need to finally show yourselves.
Drag him into the light.
Yeah, show yourselves. I want to show yourself. I want to see you. I want to see how you think. And then people are going to lose their sheet. Like if you got doors and a lock on your door at home, you can't be for open borders. That is just mind blowing. You got to protect. If you're going to protect your home, that's your border. We're going to have to try to protect the border around everyone in some sense, within a semblance, so we just don't have wicked people. Now we know there's wicked people within the borders here already. Like we already have them here, and I'm not saying they're illegal aliens. I'm not saying that at all. Like our people that are in our government are wicked people. They're wicked people. This is good. Show us that you say no. A state can't defend its border. Show us this.
Yeah, and that's Roberts. And if he's on that Epstein list, boy, what's up?
All very interesting. That's what's up, dude. They're all dirty players. This is against God. This is against everything what they're doing right now. This is the abomination of like creating the destruction of a society and doing it in an abominable way.
Yeah. Now here's something too. You ask any well-intentioned person who is a liberal, a Democrat, or that particular slant, what they think about immigration, are like, well, yeah, it's the humane thing to do. Let people come into this country so they could get a better life for themselves, and that is the humane thing to say. That's fair, but we said this already in this podcast. These people are not being let into this country for humanitarian purposes. They're let into this country because the people who rule us are going to use them for their own purposes, whether it's be cheap labor or to create a new voting bloc. But it was last year or the year before. There was this English dude wearing a tuxedo in some fancy parliament building in England or something. And with a silly little accent, it was titled like the most important video you'll see. And you know what it is already. But this guy's saying, hey, try and tell people in the third world to stop digging coal and building coal power plants to improve their life. It'll never happen. He's like, you want to improve your world and save your environments and all these things. He's like, bring prosperity to the third world. And that's what we should be looking at as opposed to as opposed to saying, yeah, we should let people into this country. We should be saying, no, how about we don't let the might of our government and military allow our multinational corporations to strip these third world countries of all their riches and transfer it to the bank accounts of the multinational corporations that don't benefit the people of this country anyway. It's like,
Hmm.
stop raping the third world and people won't need to come here. Stop dropping bombs on the Middle East and people won't, there's 37 million people have been displaced by the US wars since 2001 that had to leave their homes because they don't want to get blown up. That's a lot of people, and a lot of them went into Europe. And that whole migrant crisis in Europe happened because we fucking dropped bombs all over the Middle East. Stop destroying the third world, and they're not going to want to leave. Shit, you live in paradise in a nice warm climate where you never have to turn the heat on. Why the hell would you want to leave? You're going to come to Colorado and freeze your ass off when 0 degrees. You're going to go to Michigan when the wind's blowing in the middle of winter. No, man. Just if we just stop ruining these countries and stealing all their resources for a bunch of corporate bottom lines, they will have no need to come here. They won't have a need to come here because they are here now, but they're not here for humanitarian purposes. They're being used.
Yeah. The bright part of it.
And the brighter side. Now, it is a brighter side though, because if you have knowledge of how your world actually is functioning, then you can make a better informed decision on how you want it to work in the future.
Yeah. True that, bro. It's the idea that we could just let people once again, yeah, don't make it so people need to come here. Just make it okay everywhere. But our country has been unfortunately used as the military arm to do this thing where we've gone out and just really fucking created in the name of like democracy, gone out into foreign lands and just influenced, assassinated, killed, murdered,
Invaded.
destroyed, invaded, terrorized people. And it's not Americans that did it. I mean, they used American people to do it, but it wasn't for
Mm-hmm.
America. This was for what's happening in this global idea of a new world, that our own presidents have even spoken about. So no, keep it local, man. Keep it local. That's from
Mm-hmm.
eating, for governance. Keep it local. And then we don't pollute as much. Yeah, keep it local. It doesn't mean you can't travel. It doesn't mean you can't go out in the world. It doesn't mean you can't immigrate to other countries. But if we can just get everything more localized, we're going to be way better off.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really important because if you had good systems implemented locally, it'll that that power base will work its way up.
Yeah. Well,
Nice play, Agent Pine.
this was this is one for the ages, bro. This is what's happening. This is where we're at. We are in January. We're in the start of 2024. It's been wild already and it's gonna get crazier.
Buckle in.